Hello everyone. Welcome to the second session of Unit 3, that is Public Key and Management. In this session, we will learn some cryptography and authentication methods. The learning objective of this topic is to enable students to understand the basic cryptography and network security. After completion of this session, you will be analyze and use methods for cryptography, as well as you will be able to identify the limitations and applicability of these methods. This is the general overview of information system and cyber security. So before we start learning this subject, we all must know the vision and mission of our computer engineering program, which will help you to get strategic direction, values and ethical practices. Next is vision and mission. The vision of computer engineering program is to provide quality technical education for developing globally competent and ethically strong computer engineers with the power of innovation and commitment, contributing to the technology and serve the society at large. To achieve this vision, our mission is to impart quality technical education and enhance skill for developing globally competent IT professionals and so on. By keeping this vision and mission, we will start learning this subject. So next is quick review of session 1. We learn that public key cryptography is a cryptographic system that uses pair of keys. We reviewed the term basics of numbers and number theory and modular arithmetic, in which you learn about modern data encryption methods and designing crypto system. Then we have discussed the applications of RSA algorithm, in which signature verification software programs like browsers, many protocols that rely on RSA. We conclude our discussion by learning the computational aspects of RSA. We had learned about efficient operation using the public key and the private key, then key generation, and finally we discussed the security of RSA. This is the summary of session 1. Next, we will see the contents of today's session. Our today's lecture is divided into the 5 components. The first is key distribution and management. We will discuss the key that can be generated by using well-known symmetric, as well as asymmetric cryptographic algorithm like RSA, Diffie-Hellman. Then symmetric key distribution. Here we will learn key distribution as well as hierarchy key control, then session key lifetime, transparent key control scheme, then decentralized key control, and finally controlling key usage. After that, the symmetric key using asymmetric encryption, simple secret key distribution, then secret key distribution with confidential and authentication we will discuss in this topic. Then distribution of public key. Here we will review the term like public announcement, then publicly available directories in the domain of distribution of a public key. And last we will discuss the Diffie-Hellman key exchange algorithm. Here we conclude the session by learning the steps involved in Diffie-Hellman algorithm. This is the pathway for our today's session. Next, we will see the key distribution and management. So, before we discussing the key generation and its usage, we must know what is key management. The main aim of the key management is to generate the secret key between the two parties and store it to prove the authenticity between the communicating users. After that, the key can be generated by using the well-known symmetric as well as asymmetric cryptographic algorithm like RSA, that is reverse Shamir-Adleman, then Diffie-Hellman key exchange algorithm, and can be used later for encryption and decryption of the data. For a symmetric key encryption to work, the two parties to an exchange must share the same key, and that key must be protected from access by others. So therefore, the term that refer to the means of delivering the key to the two parties who wish to exchange data without allowing others to see the key. So this is about the key distribution and the management. Next we will see about the symmetric key distribution. So under the symmetric key distribution using symmetric encryption, there are 6 important concepts such as key distribution. In key distribution, we will learn about the key distribution center such as the key distribution scenario. Then we will learn the major issue with KDC, that is the hierarchical key control, then session key lifetime, then transparent key control scheme, and then decentralized key control and controlling key usage. So these are the things we will learn under the symmetric key distribution. So next we will discuss the key distribution. So when the key distribution, there are 2 important concepts are associated. First is the key distribution center and second is the key distribution scenario. So let's discuss each of these in detail. The use of key distribution center is based on the use of a hierarchy of a key. At a minimum 2 levels of the key are used. First is communication between end system is encrypted using a temporary key, often referred to as a session key. Typically, the session key is used for a duration of a logical connection and then discarded. After that, there will be a concept of master key. It is shared by the key distribution center and an end system or user and used to encrypt the session key. So these are the responsibilities handled by the key distribution center. Now let's discuss the second important concept associated with the key distribution, and that is the scenario. The scenario refers each user have its own unique key called master key with the key distribution center. Let us assume that user X wish to create a connection with the Y. So he required to one time session key for protecting the data. So X has a master key, that is the KX, that is known only itself, and the key distribution center, then the Y has also its own key, that is the KY, share with the key distribution center. So this is the scenario between the key distribution. Now next we will see the hierarchical key control. Under the symmetric key distribution using the symmetric encryption, we will learn the major issue with the KDC, that is the hierarchical key control. So in hierarchical key control, we just learn about the KDC, that is the key distribution center. It is necessary to limit the key distribution function to single KDC. Indeed, for very large network, it may not be practical to do so. As an alternative, a hierarchy of KDC can be established. For example, there can be a local KDC, each responsible for a small domain of overall internet work, such as a single LAN or a single building. If two entities in a different domain desire to share a key, then the corresponding local KDC can communicate through the global KDC. The hierarchical concept can be extended to 3 or even more layers depending on the size of the population and the geographic scope of the internet work. So hierarchical scheme minimizes the efforts involved in its master key distribution, because most master key are those shared by a local KDC with its local entity. In this way, the hierarchical key control can be functioning. Next, we will learn about the session key lifetime. So in session key lifetime, it is the another issue involved in KDC, that is the key distribution center. So the distribution of a session key delays the start of any exchange and place the burden on the network capacity. A security manager must try to balance these competing consideration in determining the lifetime of a particular session key. For a connection oriented protocol, one obvious choice is to use the same session key for the length of a time that connection is open. Using a new session key for each new session, it is a logical connection has very long lifetime. Then it would be prudent to change the session key periodically, perhaps every time the PDU, that is the protocol data unit, sequence numbers the cycle. For a connectionless protocol such as a transaction oriented protocol, there is no explicit connection initiation or termination. Thus it is not obvious how one need to change the session key. The most secure approach is to use new session key for each key exchange. After that, there will be a better strategy, that is to use in a given session key for a certain fixed period only, or for a certain number of transaction. These are the issues associated with the KDC during the session key. Now next we will learn about a transparent key control scheme. So after the session key, next will be the issue associated with the transparent key control scheme. So transparent key control scheme, the approach suggested in this diagram is useful for providing the end-to-end encryption at a network or a transport level in a way that is transferred to the end user. The steps involved in establishing the connection are shown in this figure. When the host wishes to set up a connection to the another host, it transmits a connection request packet. The SSM saves the packet and applies the KDC for permission to establish the connection. The communication between the SSM and the KDC is encrypted using a master key that is shared only by the SSM and the KDC. If the KDC approves the connection request, it generates the session key and delivers it to the appropriate SSM using the permanent key for each SSM. The requesting SSM can be now release the connection request packet, and connection is set up between the two end system. All the users exchange between the two end system are encrypted by their respective SSM using the one-time session key. So this is all about the transparent key control scheme. Next we will learn about the decentralized control scheme. So after the session key, next we will discussing about the decentralized key control. The use of the key distribution center is impose the requirement that the KDC be used and be protected from the subversion. The requirement can be avoided if the key distribution is fully decentralized. A session key may be established with the following sequence of steps. That is, the X issue a request to Y for a session key and include a no once. Y respond with a message that is encrypted using the shared master key. The response including the session key selected by Y as an identifier of Y, the value of message M1 and another no one's message M2. Using the new message key, that X return function of M2 to why. So this is the concept of the decentralized key control. Next we will learn about the controlling key usage scheme. So this is the last topic from the decentralized key control, then controlling the key usage issue. So let's discuss this issue. The concept of key hierarchy and the use of the automated key distribution technique that greatly reduce the number of keys that must be manually managed and distributed. It also may be desirable to impose some control on the way in which automatically distributed the key that are used. For example, in addition to separating the master key from the session key, we may wish to define different types of session key on the basis of its use. Then suppose consider the risk that a master key is imported as a data encryption key into a device. Normally the master key is physical, secured with the cryptographic hardware of the key distribution center of the end system. Session key encrypted with this master key are available to application program, as are the data encrypted with such session key. The proposed technique is used with the DES and make use of extra 8-bit in each 64-bit DES, because the tag is embedded in the key. The tag length is limited to 8 bits, limiting its flexibility and the functionality. In the control vector scheme, each session key has an associated control vector consisting of a number of fields that specially use the restriction for the session key. The length of the control vector may vary. I hope you understand clearly the symmetric key distribution using the symmetric encryption. We briefly discussed all the 6 important concepts and issues associated with it. Next, we will learn the second part, that is symmetric key using asymmetric encryption. Symmetric key using asymmetric encryption is the simple secret key distribution in which the public key encryption provides for distribution of a secret key to be used for conventional encryption. Secret key distribution with confidential and authentication, that it provides protection against both active and the passive attack. We can assume that A and B have exchanged the public key by one of the scheme we had earlier learned. So both the confidentiality and the authentication in the exchange of a secret key is maintained. Hybrid scheme, yet another way to use the public key exchange to encrypt the distribution of the secret key is a hybrid approach, in which is used on the IBM mainframe. This scheme retains the use of a key distribution center, that is the KDC, that share a secret master key with each user, and distributed secret session key encrypted with the master key. The performance of the distribution of the session key by the public key encryption could degrade the overall system performance because the relatively high computational load of a public key encryption and decryption. After that, there will be a backward compatibility. The hybrid scheme is usually overlaid on an existing KDC scheme with minimal disturbance of the software changes. So these are the symmetric key using asymmetric encryption. Next, we will address the questions such as which technique are used for distribution of a public key. So let's discuss about the distribution of the public key. Several techniques have been proposed for distribution of public keys. Public key announcement. There is some broadly accepted public key algorithm such as RSA. Any participant can send his or her public key to any other participant or broadcast the key to the community at large. Publicly available directory that maintain and distribution of the public directory would have to be responsibility of some trusted entity or organization. The scheme would include the element such as the authority that maintains the directory with a name, public key, so that each participant and his own key can be encrypted. Then public key authority, that the stronger security for a public key distribution can be achieved by providing the tighter control over the distribution of the public key from the other directory. Then public key certificate, that an alternative approach to above is the use of certificate that can be used by participant to exchange the key without contacting a public key authority. Public key authority may be a participant conveys its key information to another by transmitting its certificate. So these are the things associated with the distribution of the public key. Next, we will address the questions such as how the key storage and usage is managed in practices. We know that the key management manages cryptographic keys in a crypto system. These include dealing with the generation of the exchange of the storage that use. So the key generation is a management system, popularly known as the KMS, is an integrated approach for generating, distributing and managing the cryptographic keys for devices and the application. A KMS includes the backend functionality for the key generation, distribution and the replacement, as well as the client functionality for the injecting the key and storing and managing the keys on the devices. Then key distribution, this is the key used only for the storage of information, that is for the data keying material that shall not be distributed except for the backup to other authorized entities that may require access to store the information protected by the key. The transport of the key and other key material from the entity that either generate the key to another entity that is intended to use the key. I hope you understand how the key generation and usage is managed in a practice. Now next we will learn about the Diffie-Hellman key exchange algorithm. The Diffie-Hellman algorithm is a key exchange protocol that enables two parties to communicate over a public channel to establish a mutual secret without it being transmitted over the internet. So Diffie-Hellman enable the two to use public key to encrypt and decrypt their conversation or data using symmetric cryptography. Steps of Diffie-Hellman algorithm. The first step is that if Raj wants to communicate with Sam, then they must agree on two large prime numbers, that is P and Q. Raj selects another secret large random integer number A and calculate R such as R is equal to Q to the power A mod P. Raj send this R to Sam. Then Sam independently select another secret large random integer, suppose B, and calculate S such as S is equal to Q to the power B mod P. And then Sam send the number S to Raj. Now Raj is calculating his secret key by using the symmetric key K, such as Rk is equal to S to the power A mod P, that is the prime number. Then Sam is calculating his secret key Sk by using the symmetric key K, such as Sk is equal to R to the power B mod P, that is the prime number. If Rk is equal to Sk, then Raj and Sam can agree for future communication. That is called the key agreement algorithm. We have Rk is equal to Sk is equal to K, hence K is called the symmetric key. It can be avoid the main man in middle attack by creating one discrepancy. Hope you understand the steps involved in the Diffie-Hellman algorithm. Next, we will learn about the eclipse curve cryptography. This elliptical curve cryptography is an approach to public key cryptography based on the algebraic structure of a elliptic curve over the finite field. An elliptic curve is the set of solution explanation of the form y2 is equal to x cube plus ax plus b. Each value of the a and the b gives the different elliptic curve. An equation of this kind can be studied over the various mathematical structures such as ring or the finite field. One interesting property of the elliptic curve is that it forms a group which enable us to do cryptography. The public key is a point in the curve. That private key is a random number as shown in this diagram. The public key is obtained by multiplying the private key with the generator point in the curve. Hope you understand the elliptical curve cryptography. Next, we will learn how to achieve the message authentication using the hash function. So let's discuss about the message authentication hash function. The possibility of the attack, one of the most complex as well as crucial area of the cryptography is the message authentication. That message authentication mechanism helps to prove the identity of the sender or a message. The traffic analysis in this type of attack, while sending a confidential mail from a sender to a receiver, makes size that the original message should be an encrypted form. Otherwise, it is very easy to attacker to observe the pattern of those messages. Such type of attack is called the traffic analysis. Then masquerade attack. In this masquerade attack, the attacker that user pretend the identification such as showing himself as a legitimate user to gain the access of a personal computer. Such type of attack involve pretending the user from accessing the authorized information. After this, there is one more possible attack, and that is the replay attack or rewrite attack. It is a network attack in which the original data get modified and new malicious code added into the data. After that, there will be a modification attack. This modification OS also called replay attack, when contents of the message modified after sender send it, but before it reaches to the intended recipient. Such type of attack is called the modification of message. After the modification, there will be a replay attack. Replay attack is involve passive capturing of data and retransmission of the subsequent information in order to create the unauthorized effect. After that, there will be a non-repetition. That is the principle of the non-repetition. State that if the sender sends some information and later on he denied that he never sent that information, that is called non-repetition attack. Hope you understand very well all the possible attack while communication across the network or between sender and the receiver. Next, we will learn various methods for the authentication for identification of the authenticity and the originator of the message. So, hash function. Hash function is the process of transforming the input message m into the fixed size called as the h. That will be a fixed size hash value, act as a authenticator. This hash function is popularly occurred in message encryption. The ciphertext produced after the encryption act authenticator. Message authentication code, that is called as MAC, that ensure that only the receiver can identify the original message. The message authentication code MAC is a small fixed size block of data. Then cryptographic hash function. In a hash function, h accept a variable length block that will be taken as input data called as m, and produces the fixed size of hash value that can be produced as h is equal to h as a function of m. A good hash function provides a property that has hash function is applied on a large amount of a data input m, and then it produces the fixed amount of output data. So let's discuss the few applications of the cryptographic hash. There are three major application areas. The first one is message authentication, then digital signature, then other application. That for creating one-way password file, we commonly use hash function. The password will stored on the operating system because of the hacker cannot access the data or the password file. Hope you understand very well the role of the hash function in a sender and the receiver exchange communication. Next, we will see few study questions based on the today's session. So solve the study question. In a symmetric encryption, describe the way in which the key distribution can be achieved between the two parties A and B. Then second question, explain the key distribution scenario using public key algorithm. Then which technique are used for distribution of a public key. After that, explain the key distribution method. And finally, you have to solve how to achieve the message authentication using the hash function. Now it is time to summarize our session. So here we are summarizing our today's lecture. We have taken the key distribution and management, in which we discuss the key that can be generated by using the well-known symmetric as well as the asymmetric cryptographic algorithm like RSA and the Diffie-Hellman. We reviewed the term symmetric key using the symmetric and asymmetric encryption, in which you learn about the key distribution, hierarchy key control session, lifetime, key transfer key control, and then decentralized key control. After that, the distribution of the public key. We learn the public key announcement, publicly available directory in the domain of the distribution of the public key. We conclude our discussion by learning the importance of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange algorithm. In the next session, we will discuss the digital signature, which is the third module of our unit 3, that is the public key and the management. The fundamentals associated with the topic are briefly available in this book, that is the Network Security and the Cryptography, written by the Bernard Menezes. You can go through this book to understand the next session more clearly. If you have any difficulty or the problem in solving the assignment question, feel free to post your queries at the forum of the Google Classroom. I will be happy to solve your queries. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.